On this episode of the Naturist Living Show, the Naturist Hub.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener, to episode 153 of the Naturist Living Show. My name is Stéphane Deschaines, and I'm your host for this podcast and the owner of Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. And I make this show with a lot of help from Samantha, who is going to tell us about the great support that we get from the folks who donate every month on Patreon. Samantha?
Yes, absolutely, Stéphane. We want to give a huge shout out to some very special people who support me over on Patreon. We've got Brian A., Donald S., The Phantom, Robert O., and Ben T. This episode is dedicated to you. And thank you to all of our Patreons. We truly appreciate the support. I truly appreciate the support month after month. It doesn't go unnoticed. And you're going to start seeing a little bit more content on Patreon from me. I've finally carved out some time, and so there's going to be some behind-the-scenes stuff. You're going to know when episodes are going to be coming out, what's next coming out for episodes. So if you want to be a Patreon, you can head over to patreon.com/Naturist Living Show, all one word, and sign up.
And we have a brand new podcast available. As I'm recording this, there are only 2 episodes available. It's called Naked, Nudists and Naturists, and it has a very aggressive schedule. They're planning on publishing 1 episode per week, and each episode will be 1 hour. So that's a lot of work. As a person who has been doing podcasts for a long time, that is a lot of work, and I hope they stick to it. We did an episode about podcasting, naturist, nudist podcasting a number of years ago. I think it was, a few years ago. And several of those podcasts are gone. And at that time, there had been podcasts, several of them that had come and gone as well, because it's a fair bit of work. So I hope they stick with it. We need more people talking about naturism. I enjoyed what they've done so far. And if you are catching up and listening in the future, as people often do with these episodes, then you'll know the answer. So for now, though, if you want to listen to it, we have a short little promo that they provided us.
Hi, Stéphane. This is Frank Stone, the host of the podcast Naked, Nudists and Naturists.
And I'm Lisa Monroe, the Out in the Field correspondent, as we bring the podcast that celebrates clothes-free living for all the right reasons.
As you know, we consider you to be the godfather of naturism, as your voice and work are literally known throughout the whole world.
When one looks at your Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park, your Naturist Living Show podcast, and your presidency with the International Naturist Federation, it's no wonder that you're leading the charge for naturism for all.
We have a brand new 1-hour episode that drops every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and all episodes can be found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And you can find us at our website at nakednudistandnaturist.com.
Our show deals with all things naked, including living the clothes-free life, breaking down societal barriers, and accepting your body with glee.
We will also look at the fun side of being naked, such as skinny dipping, the World Naked Bike Ride, nude skydiving, and so much more.
We are looking forward to working and collaborating with you to lead more people toward naturism so that they can enjoy a barrier-free life, and we thank you for this time on your show.
So as I say on every show, it's time to take your clothes off and join us for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
We hope that you and your listeners have a great day, Stéphane, and we are looking forward to meeting them on our show.
Remember, it's time to get naked and join me, your correspondent, Lisa Monroe,
and your host, Frank Stone, for our podcast show,
Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
Have a great day, Stéphane.
Bye.
So today we're talking about social media. Again, we've talked about social media in the past, but specifically we're going to talk about what is the right kind of social media and what works best, or what are the options. So we're talking to George, who is the founder and the operator and supporter of the Naturist Hub. And what made me think of this, amongst other things, is that in February of 2023, while we were on the nude cruise from Bare Necessities, suddenly our Twitter account was shut down after 14 years without any warning. As you probably know, if you've been listening for a while, we lost the Naturist Living Show Twitter account about a year previously. And appeal after appeal after appeal has led to nothing. AANR, Eric Shutoff, was kind enough to write some legal letters, and that didn't get a response either. They're simply ignoring. And the reason we think, of course, they never tell you exactly, that we lost it unceremoniously without any warnings or previous strikes for that matter, is that we published that story that we did a number of episodes ago about family naturism, the video we did about family naturism, and the image that auto-generated from the blog portion is a family on the beach. Now, you cannot see anything. You cannot see any genitals. You cannot see any female nipples. You cannot really see any even rear ends because they're sitting on the beach. It is a beautiful picture. We'll have, of course, a link in the show notes so you can see it yourself. It is, and it's also one of the images we used for the podcast, which is possibly what caused the problem. It doesn't violate the rules when you read them unless you consider just that picture, the concept of the nudity with children, to be a problem. And I'm not going to get into why it's not a problem. You'll have to go listen to those episodes. But anyway, back to social media. In social media, we have two options. We have the closed environment, which is safer. Safer because we can control who's there, and we can make sure that it's our rules, not somebody else's, especially if it's a naturist environment. And that's what the Naturist Hub is all about. But it's not good for promotion because you cannot see any of the posts from the outside. You cannot provide links or send links to anyone to an interesting post or article or image because you have to have an account. You can only get an account if you know someone or if you get a reference to be invited. So public is better. The very large public social media networks like Twitter, where we got kicked off of, or Facebook or Instagram, those, unfortunately, we don't control. And if we were doing a public naturist-only social media with our rules, well, that becomes more difficult to manage because the general public is messy, as anybody who uses social media knows. So it's a difficult question. We need the public side, but the public side is not always safe and not always pleasant to use. We did an episode a number of years ago on the harassment in particular that women feel when they are on social media as naturist. And in a place like the Naturist Hub, women feel much safer because if they complain, somebody will kick them out. It's not unlike a club. When you come to Bare Oaks, women feel particularly safe at Bare Oaks because we have strong anti-harassment policies that we enforce, which is why we have a lot of single women who come to Bare Oaks, which is also another previous episode. We're going to have a lot of links to put into the show notes so you can go and listen to all those. So it's an interesting discussion, and I decided to talk to George about that and the option, and about the Naturist Hub and how it works and whether that's the right model or not. So let's listen to that now.
Well, my name is George. I have been a naturist pretty much all my life. Our family used to visit Lupin Lodge in the summers when I was in elementary school and a little bit in junior high. And when I got married, my now ex-wife's best friend was a member of Laguna del Sol, and we started going up there, raised our children, taking them to Laguna. And in about 2000, I'm going to say about 2005, 2006 or so, maybe 7, I got involved with AANR. I gave a talk at a travel seminar about search engine marketing and such. And a lady was on the call from AANR and reached out to me. And I said, hey, I connected and said, we go to Laguna del Sol. It's funny that you reached out. So I got involved with AANR and kind of have helped them throughout the years in a lot of areas of online marketing. I recently rebuilt the AANR website for them. And now I'm involved with Naturist Hub. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So you and Mark Zuckerberg own a social media channel. So you're super wealthy just like him because of it?
No. This is for the love of the game, I think.
Why would you want to do this? Why would you? I mean, it was a lot of work, and it's still a lot of work, I'm sure, right?
Well, I guess I would have to say that Naturist Hub was kind of I've worked with Nick and Lynn's on a few projects over the years, and Nick and I were commiserating because I think during the COVID lockdown, we were communicating a little bit more on some things. And so we were mentioning that some of the naturist content creators were, of concerning to Nick and Lynn's, obviously, that, the naturist content creators were getting booted off of their social media pages. They put all this effort, and then they would build the audience over the course of time. And then they suddenly wake up one day and the page has been decommissioned, right? And their logins are enabled. And so, I mentioned to him that I knew of a script and I think we could modify it. We could make a social platform where naturists were welcome, number one, and not unwelcome, having to walk a fine line. And that, they would not be in fear of, if they did want to put effort into their page and build an audience, they wouldn't be in fear of losing that page. And so it'd be friendly. So I guess I'd have to say that Naturist Hub was kind of a product of the COVID lockdowns, right? Because it launched in May of 2020, right there, when we were all sitting at home and couldn't go outside or anything. It was kind of crazy times, right? So
is it like Facebook?
Very much like Facebook, although there are a number of very subtle differences. When we were developing the site, we decided we wanted to make it by invite only because we did not want all the bots that come in, right? The bots. For just definition, bots are unmanned technology that comes in and tries to infiltrate websites. They are prevalent on a lot of sites. It's Twitter's nemesis, right? Everybody complains about the bots on Twitter. And so we didn't want bots. We wanted live people. We also wanted people that were naturist and, within the AANR style of naturist philosophy style of posting. We felt like a lot of the nudist sites that are in existence are very much swinger friendly, and we wanted to be more for naturist, true, genuine naturist philosophy, and that's kind of where we are. That's how we differentiate ourselves.
So does it work? Have you managed to keep out all the creeps?
Have we managed to keep out all the creeps? Creeps. Let me say this. So in 3 years. Coming up now in this May of 2023, it'll be live for 3 years. We've had 300 complaints, some of various levels, right? I would say we've probably only had to ban maybe 10 members so far. Over, right now we have over 3,000 members. And so, we've only had to ban about 10, I would have to say. And those are the ones that post an erection or something that's just not in our world.
Okay. Well, I'm asking the question, and I knew the answer, which is it's impossible to keep bad people out completely. As a club owner, I can't keep people out completely either. I can't guarantee that. Otherwise, unless we close the door and never let anybody in, you have to experiment and give people a chance. And I guess that's the same thing with you, right?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you're just not able to validate. People say, well, you need to validate the members, and what am I going to do? Ask for their driver's license and social security number? Would you give that out?
Well,
To just a random website? Well, no. So what we do is we have it set by invite. So if you're a member of Naturist Hub, you can invite your friends. You send them, you just add their emails, push the button. It sends them a nice little invite. It invites them with some friendly verbiage. And then, your name is then appended as you were invited by that person. The other thing is we have to kind of validate, we kind of use that your behavior is your passport to your keeping your login alive, right? So if you post bad pictures, then no, you're going to be the login will be disabled, and we get rid of you. If you put a meme, we try to keep the platform genuine. So we ask that you add a visible headshot for your profile picture. And some people bark on that. They don't want to do that, but that also means that possibly Naturist Hub isn't right for them. Maybe they're still on their journey to embracing naturism, or they're just not, maybe that's just not suitable for them. I don't know, but I know that we have over 3,000 people that it is suitable for, and that we're increasing our membership by about 5 to 20 people per day are signing up through the invite process. And so it's worked out so far, so good. It's a labor of love. It takes quite a bit of work to keep it genuine. If we let it go on fail-safe, it would get polluted very quickly. So one of the ways that we keep it safe is that we have a functionality on each post, each picture, each reply, each comment, where somebody can report that particular post or reply or comment as inappropriate for Naturist Hub. And we have a fairly stringent set of guidelines, platform guidelines, that are published on the main page, accessible to everybody on your login page with a click of the mouse or a tap. And it clearly articulates, what the platform guidelines are. We don't allow hate. We don't allow porn. We don't allow politics, because politics are such an Achilles heel here in North America. To be honest with you, Stefan, the guidelines have expanded. We started small because we were naive. We had probably a couple of welcome lines in this beautiful, Pollyanna view of life, and it's grown with a number of bullet points of what we, unfortunately have had to, let those platform guidelines grow as we become aware of how some people, have pushed the line, right?
So that's the challenge. So setting up a social media isn't just about setting up some software. I suspect the bigger job is running it. People complain about moderation on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever, and how if we show a little nipple, we get banned or temporarily blocked or whatever. Obviously, you need moderation on Naturist Hub as well. Moderation is necessary. We have different rules as naturists, but you need moderation. And how much work is that?
It's fairly significant. Let me start by saying that not everybody's comfortable with the amount of moderation that we do, but I'm going to take it kind of deeper for a minute. We definitely understand the difference between moderation and censoring. So we don't censor thought. What we do moderate are people that post either political posts. So we'll have people that just can't resist, and they're posting about whatever their political side is. And we do delete political posts, because inevitably the other side is going to respond. And before you know it, we become Twitter, right? Filled with hate, and nobody ever gets along, and politics are a no-win situation. So we've just had to basically, because of experience, and again, this was not originally on the guidelines, but it is now, just because we've had these issues. We delete political posts. We delete posts where people have the focus on their genitals. So we're a naturist site. It's obvious that we allow nudity, but we don't allow somebody that have their legs spread open for the camera, for example. We tried, we don't allow the spread eagle shots. We don't allow, headless nudes. That's another one that's a very, it's come up quite a bit. So you get the person that, crops it at the neck. And I think Nick put it really well. He says, if we're naturists, we've seen our fair and naked bodies. If you don't want us to see your face and your head, we don't want to see your genitals either. So
Right.
That was pretty well said by Nick, and we've stayed with that.
So how much work is that? How many people? How much time do you think is being spent dealing with complaints or issues?
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 of us that have the moderation ability to delete a post. We generally, it either presents itself as obvious, or if it's marginal, we, have a kind of an advisory board. We send it around and get some thought. Generally speaking, it's myself to actually do the deletion, to be honest with you, because, people prefer it that way. But they chime in on what should go out and what shouldn't. It's pretty obvious. I just can't emphasize. And usually it's somebody that's, that's got a semi-aroused, or he's aroused, or, the legs spread on the camera, taken at the knees. And it's, if you squint, you can kind of see the face at the top. But other than that, you basically, we don't do that kind of a photo. We do not want to be a site for exhibitionists. We want to be a site for naturists. And we kind of want to stay true to naturist philosophy of living life clothes-free where possible, or when, nude recreation and the style of nude recreation. And that's, there's other sites for exhibitionists, right? They have plenty of sites, but we don't, there's not too many sites for true, basic naturists, right? Naturist philosophy. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of our, that's our MO. That's our story, and then we're sticking with it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. But you have to be. People could be posting a picture of their erect penis at 2:00 in the morning. It'll probably stay up for a while, then, won't it?
It might stay up for a few hours, but it'll get deleted as soon as one of the moderators, see the abuse.
Because you sleep,
yeah,
don't you, at night?
Yeah, I mean, we're not perfect, and let me say that it's a volunteer effort.
Right.
It's a non-revenue producing website. That adds 2 elements. Number one is we don't make decisions based upon revenue, like a revenue producing site. So they may have somebody that spends money with them on advertising, and they may want to squint and look the other way when that person does something. Because we don't have any revenue coming out of the site, it allows us to take a more holistic approach. And if somebody breaks the rules, they get the warning. If they break the rules twice, they get deleted. Mm-hmm. Because if it's twice, it's going to happen 3 and 4 times. That's our feeling. So it's kind of a 2 strikes. If it's really, what people really enjoy doing is pushing stuff right up to the line. And that's the ones that are tough, right? The ones that just bounce on that line of inappropriate, but, don't quite cross it, right? Just right there to get your attention. And, we try to maybe send a friendly, nice, really worded, friendly notice that might be pushing it a little bit, but we don't maybe delete it, but we let them know that we see it, right? But for the most part, Stefan, I can't tell you enough. The stuff that we delete is obvious. It's the stuff that you don't want to see and the rest of the community doesn't want to see. When somebody posts something that is inappropriate, I'll log in and I'll see 15 or 20 inappropriate, people have marked it as inappropriate, right? So it's pretty obvious to everybody, And to be honest with you, lately, I think a lot of people kind of get it, right? And so we haven't had too many problems lately. It's, people come in, they kind of read the room and they understand because they can see there's a lot of activity on the site on a daily basis. We generally have about 500 to 600 logins, and that's in this time of the year in the northern hemisphere. This is winter, and people are hunkered down, and we expect that the logins are going to go up, as we approach the naturist season, the summer season here in the northern hemisphere.
So you said it's a not a profit revenue generating website or system, social media network.
Yeah.
So there's costs. Okay, yes, you're volunteering your time and the other moderators are volunteering their time, but you need hardware, you need hosting, and the busier it gets, the more computing power you need and the more bandwidth you need. So how do you fund that?
Well, let me say that, one thing is I'm a webmaster by trade. So we're not paying web developers, although I have engaged the original script developers to help me on some things that maybe are a little bit beyond me or that are so intense that it just take me forever to create, right? As a one-man band on the coding. We have a host that is very reasonable and they understand what Naturist Hub is about. We had to educate them going in the difference between porn and naturism, and they're on board. Like I say, we have the original script developers helping us. They understand what we're doing. So we own the code, and we actually have it hosted very reasonably. So the cost is a lot less than you think. At some point, Stefan, you're absolutely correct. We're hoping that maybe we can create a situation where the site is so busy and has enough traffic that people will, maybe we have a listing section, kind of like a classified section. We're hoping that we can maybe add some fees to the classifieds for people to list, and that'll be some revenue generating. As long as it breaks even, we're fine. We understand that, naturism, it's really difficult to monetize an online naturist website, right? Unless you climb over to porn and somebody's doing, that's a different world, right? And we're not going to go there. So what we aim to do is it's for the love of the game. It's for the love of bringing naturism to people that are on their journey to understanding what it's about. And that has become really, really apparent on the website. And what we've noticed is there is a sizable, significant chunk of people that identify themselves as home nudists. They live inside their home clothed free. They cook clothed free. They go in the backyard. A lot of them, I would have to say probably 70, 80% of them say that they want to expand their horizons and visit a nudist resort at some point. And they're open to that idea. But it's really eye-opening for me because I never really thought of that. Like I say, when we were a child, we'd go to Lupin. When I was a little older, we'd go to Laguna. I've been to Cypress. I've been to, a lot of resorts, right? Willametons and Sequoians and, whatever. But it's interesting that there's this sub-segment and I look at that as kind of the entry level, right? And Naturist Hub is providing a utility for them to go in and see the true naturist, environment. And not that they won't go to the Bear Oaks website or to the AANR website or the FNI website and see the same thing, but I think it just gives an interaction of people. They get to do the kind of the question and response and bounce ideas off people in their posts, and it's been an interesting journey on that. So I think it's something that the organized nude recreation industry should recognize, that there is this segment of home nudists that is ripe for bringing into, organized nude recreation. Just a thought.
And your site, Naturist Hub, is also recognized by AANR and supported by AANR?
Yes. AANR, we have that up on the site. It is the preferred social media site for AANR, and one of the reasons is that they had a site before, but it got out of hand with some of the bots and stuff. And they had people bouncing, their idea of a social site off them on a regular basis, but they didn't know who the people were, and they knew who I was, and they knew who Nick and Lynn's were, and they knew that what we stood for, and they knew that we would not, let the site, evolve into something that they weren't comfortable with. And so that's why they, aligned with us, because they wanted to bring this to their membership. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of people that have joined AANR strictly to get the reference, the invite into Naturist Hub, and have that invite be by AANR. So there is a notation on who invited you on your profile, and that's been a nice piece for them. So it's made them, and it helps bring them to the times, right? AANR was under the, people had a view of AANR of maybe being behind a little bit, but now they look and they see a brand new website. It's mobile friendly. They're involved in the online social media, and they have a presence on Naturist Hub, and for the members to participate. And it's been a nice evolution for AANR, and I think they're going to reap the benefit of that moving forward. Yeah.
Are they supporting the site financially?
No, but they do refer their membership to Naturist Hub. If people fill out a form on the AANR site, they validate the AANR membership, and then they send the invite. So, yeah.
So they're getting a benefit. They're getting a service for their members. They're getting potentially more members, and it's costing you money. Isn't that how it works? Isn't that what you're just telling me?
Well, it's not really costing me money at this point, because I have plenty of bandwidth on the site. We have a very good hosting. And it's not my first rodeo, Stefan. I've been doing web work for 25 years. I know where to go. And so, the site is very sophisticated. It is not a WordPress site, believe me. It's an extremely sophisticated. It's coded in React and PHP and on the Zend framework, and it's an extremely sophisticated site.
So the site depends on your efforts, your enthusiasm, and your wallet to a large extent. What happens if, let's hope not, but what happens if something happens to you or you just get tired of doing this?
Well, I'm hoping that we'll have some sort of succession plan to make that, continue on. Obviously, if people feel it's valuable, we're in good shape. But, you're right. It does take a lot out of you. And, at some point, it's either going to make revenue and be worthwhile, or it's going to continue on and we'll maybe, have some other people take it over at some point, but not for a while. I'm very dedicated. I know that the people, I don't want to name names. I will say that I think she would be okay with me saying, but Linda Weber has been very involved. True Blue Nude. Mm-hmm. She's been very involved with Naturist Hub and is one of the moderators and has helped me. I couldn't do it without Linda. I want to give a quick shout out to Linda. So, we have some people from Europe on there as moderators. Sanka, I think some of the names. Burned, Bipa, Yeah, so, we have an advisory group.
The reason I ask about what happens if you get tired of it is because I've seen a lot of these projects, especially the ones that generate no revenue, eventually go away because nobody is willing to invest the same kind of time and money. In a way, it's like a lot of Naturist Club stories, where even maybe they are making money, but they're not making a ton of money. And when the owners decide to retire, or if it's a nonprofit, there's nobody willing to step up to provide the leadership. Suddenly, it just fades away, or worse, gets sold to somebody who's not interested in continuing. So it's not it's a similar challenge, right?
Yeah, I don't think that will happen here. One of the things that I became aware of is when we did have those server problems at the beginning of the year, there were people that were not able to log in for a few hours, and they came back and they were so afraid that the site had gone away. They appreciate it so much, and they just sent me just these glowing beautiful messages that's saying how glad and how much it means to them to be able to post here and be welcome in this environment. So with that being said, I think there is a group of people that would absolutely love and have the sophisticated technological background to be able to take it over if I got tired, which I'm not tired of it yet. I'm still having fun. We are now bringing on a new module. Actually, this weekend, we should be able to launch it for Naturist media, content creators. So like I mentioned to you when we put the podcast on, that was a temporary page. We've got that module almost ready to, deploy, where we'll have your permanent page here. And it's going to be a whole module with a section for podcasters, a section for video content creators, and a section for websites, naturist websites. And we're doing it a little bit differently. We're doing, more the people would suggest a site and the advisory group decides, and then we put it on. So we're not going to let people just add their sites and add podcasts without being kind of vetted to make sure that it was a benefit for.
Are you going to host video?
Hub community.
Yes.
We're not going to host video. That's a whole different level. And that's when you start entering into different bandwidths and costs, right? So we're going to let them put those on Vimeo, and we're going to let them put them on YouTube, and then we'll display that video or maybe that channel in the page on Naturist Hub. Similar to what we did, we embedded the Apple player for
but podcasts are different because
Naturist Living
podcasts
Show,
are,
for example,
hosted somewhere else. There, you don't upload it to anywhere. You have to have a host for podcasts, but video tends to be hosted, right?
Yeah, we do have videos that people can publish on their own, like off their phone and stuff, but they have to be short videos, or like a minute or less, right? Start talking about more of the Naturist content creators. That's a video streaming server that is really amped up and has a lot of power. And so we'll let YouTube and Vimeo do that. And if, somebody's a content creator, they're going to want to syndicate that content across multiple platforms, kind of like a podcast. You have it on Spotify, and you have it on Apple, and you have it on, whatever the podcasting, venue of your choice. I think you have probably 10 or 15. I think most people have 10 or 15 if they do a podcast, where they deploy that podcast on those different platforms. And so we'll become one of those streaming platforms. They can give us the iframe for the Vimeo. We can put it on that way, or links to the channel so people can see that, for example. That's our thought.
Cool. So you talked about Sönke, who I just saw last week in Germany, who's very active with Naked Germany and his own website as well. The natural question is, what about offering the site in multiple languages? So folks like Sönke can offer it to German naturists, and we could have French naturist, Dutch naturist, all of those folks, Spanish.
Yeah, it's the script has the capability. We can set different networks up so that, you could log in and you'd be assigned, a network for South America geography, right? Or by language, Spanish. And then you'd see everything in Spanish. I'd have to have assistance translating all of the internal alerts and such and messaging to the various language, right? So that is a sizable task because, again, it's not a simple website. So there's probably 300 or 400 different messages that need to be interpreted into the different language to make it work. It's something that we've always had. Nick and I talked about this going in. We thought we'd start with English. We understand that people that that are in the Spanish-speaking countries and areas that they really want to speak Spanish. So that probably would be our first language. But German certainly, but a lot of people in Germany speak English too, right? But I think they'd probably prefer to speak German, don't you think? And then the French.
They definitely prefer to speak German. Everybody prefers to speak their mother tongue. But there's a lot of Germans, they're pretty good in English, but there's a lot of them that would be much more comfortable in their home language.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, when the site does grow, and I would need assistance to do that. It's not that difficult to create, and I've got a development server that I can work on, and we can validate it. Like this latest update that we just did a refresh in December. We pushed a brand new refresh with all kinds of new capabilities and functionalities, and kind of a new look, an updated look, not a new look, but an updated look. And so, we suspect that we're going to be pushing one of those live every year to stay contemporary and stay up to date with functionalities. Yeah. And, I'm definitely looking for some people to get involved with me to help. And that's, you say, what's the ability to go on? I think it's, to grow the team, right? To grow the team and have different functionalities. Hopefully we can maybe get the site busy enough and be popular enough that we can, maybe the classified listings, will generate some revenue that we can help out. We never, ever want to charge the members to join. It'll always be free to join. I just don't think the subscription fee here is something we want to go, a road we want to go down. We want it to be, for genuine naturists, and to kind of stay that route and make advertising and support naturist businesses. Stefan, when I was at AANR, I've done a number of studies and a lot of research through the times when we were entrusted with trying to research different opportunities for AANR. And, one of the things that stood out to me was that they have a large community of individuals that enjoy nude recreation. You have a subset of affiliated clubs and resorts, right? And, but what you don't have, aside from the resorts, which are definitely naturist businesses, but you don't really have a robust naturist business community. And I think if the naturist world wants to move away from the fringe and into a niche of the mainstream, it's going to need to have that robust naturist business community that is spending money to advertise their offerings and creating awareness and creating energy about what they sell. And if they were able to do that, then suddenly the general public is inevitably going to be, I'm sorry for this one, exposed to the offerings. And I think that, then suddenly we're not a fringe element. We're more of a niche of the mainstream, like other niches of the mainstream, right? And I think that helps. And I think that's how we envision Naturist Hub. We're very naturist business friendly, if you will. And so while we have the listings and the travel listings and such for free, we're hoping that at some point, maybe they cost $10 or $15 to publish, right? Maybe we can put some ads on the sides.
Ironically, there are fewer naturist-specific business than there used to be. There used to be business in selling videos. There used to be business in selling photography development or film development. There used to be business in being a travel agent, which sort of exists still, but you don't need a travel agent like you used to. So that is a challenge. I mean, there are a lot of, obviously most naturists are in some sort of business that may not be directly related and they may want to advertise, but naturist specific business other than clubs and resorts, I'm not sure there's much left, is there?
I don't know. You're right. But maybe if the people see an opportunity and they have an interest, you never know. Nude day trips, nude recreation trips, houseboating trips, excursions, recreation based. I'm sure most of it, you can sell coffee mugs and t-shirts, I guess, but the recreation and the experiences, the travel industry is moving more towards experiences. That's a big thing in the travel industry. I was in the travel industry for many, many years, and I can tell you that they've moved away from kind of the bus, the canned bus tours into more total immersion and experiences. And maybe there's a subset of people that are interested in providing, naturist day trips and recreation opportunities to go down that same road of naturist experiences, right? Hard to say.
Well, I mean, there is. It's an interesting question. Like we've always talked about, why isn't there a sunscreen company that's buying full page ads in the AANR magazine and actually owning the position, right? A sunscreen that's so good that it's used by people who wear nothing at all seems like a good advertising campaign. And so somebody would want to sponsor AANR or Nature Society or somebody, but I've never seen it, strangely enough, right? Who else needs more sunscreen than people who wear no clothes at all?
Right? Indeed.
And maybe we're just terrible at selling ourselves. Maybe that's our problem.
You know, I was on the way to work yesterday and I saw a van, and it's a brewery called Bare Bottle Brewery, BARE, Bottle Brewery. And I thought, well, they should be advertising in the AANR Bulletin.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I talked earlier about, in a way, what you're doing is you're creating a Naturist Club, Naturist Park, virtual, online.
True.
With members and everything else. You said you don't check ID. We check ID at Bare Oaks when you come in, and it also doesn't prevent the occasional inappropriate person from coming in. It does reduce it, so it wouldn't prevent it even online. So you are like a club in that you are in a walled garden, and so and more restrictive in a way than most naturist clubs, because you don't need a reference to come to Bare Oaks or most naturist parks. You just need to have the address and transportation. So where I'm getting at is there's that model, which ensures a very controlled environment where there is little chance of abuse. But does it do anything to help promote the movement? Because nobody can see anything unless they're inside.
Yeah. You know, you and I talked even before we launched, right? Because I asked for guidance. And you brought that up. And Nick and I talked about it at length, because I think even he called you on it.
Sure.
And not called you on it, but called you for guidance on it, because Nick and I had spoken about that, because I'm like, yeah, but Stefan says we're not doing anything to promote it because you got to have a login to get in, and it's not, you know. So we talked about putting, you know, the network into a subdomain and, you know, more of a public facing thing on the front to advertise nature, not advertise, but to promote naturism, right? And promote the clubs, promote the, you know, all the various different things. And, you know, one of the issues that we came back with was that, and then I'll answer your question, it's difficult to get the clubs and the resorts to respond. So if I say, hey, you know, not you, because you're one of the most proactive clubs out there, I'll say that, you know, Sewanee Valley is also very proactive too, and I'll give BG credit. But if I, you know, we reach out to a club and we say, hey, send us your offerings. What do you guys, you know, what's your event schedule? You know, let us know. We'll help promote. Crickets. Most often than not, you get crickets. You know, so I think that, you know, that would be difficult to stay up to date and not make it kind of stale. If we, you know, and I think the AANR website, because again, I helped AANR rebuild their website. And if you look at the AANR website, they do a pretty good job of rotating, you know, clubs and trying to create some energy for clubs and such, and the different, you know, things that are going on in the nudist world in North America anyway, in the US and Canada. But we're not sure how we could make that page so interesting, you know, when we're also focused on the network. Now, the network is our prime area, and that's our number one thing. And we do think that, you know, it's you can get an invite to Naturist Hub by going to the About page and requesting one. But we do ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
And so, you know, Naturist Hub is probably not the place for somebody that's never, ever taken their clothes off. It's probably not the place for somebody that's ever not gone to a nude beach or not sat out in the backyard and enjoyed the sun and all over tan in the backyard. It's the place for somebody that's already, at some level of either beginning or advanced has, experienced, clothing-free recreation. AANR would probably be, the AANR website would probably be a better destination for somebody that's just curious, that's never done that and may not do it, right? Because they're going to get onto Naturist Hub and see everybody in the all together, and it's going to be quite shocking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think our value to help expand the naturist awareness is the home nudists that are coming on. And I'll come back to that because, again, we have a significant segment of people that are consider themselves home nudists that are looking at and we present the organized, nude recreation industry. They're represented well there. Glen Eden just signed up with a resort page. We have Lupin. We have Laguna del Sol. We've got a number of non-landed clubs. Rolf from SCNA has got their club on there, well represented. And the event section, there is an event section for non-landed clubs. I'd really like to see a lot more non-landed clubs on the site because they're always active going someplace. That's what they do. They travel, right? And so there's an event section where the clubs and individuals even can list their events and all the details and have signups and links and all kinds of good stuff they can do. In that event section, Stefan, there's another thing that we've noticed. In America, for whatever reason, there seems to be an epidemic of loneliness, right?
Mm.
I mean, that's probably worldwide, but I guess I'm looking at it from the viewpoint of where I see it. And there is definitely an epidemic of loneliness in our world at this point. So what we have in the events section, you can set an online event. And so you can put in you go register to Zoom or to, free conference call or whatever or Google G Meet. You just, copy and paste the web link. And then that meeting is listed on Naturist Hub. And there's a number of members that have conducted meetings, like Friday night meetings. There's one Beer Naked, I think, and everybody's got, drinks beer on Friday nights and they on the Zoom calls, and they do Zoom meetings for, similar to the AANR meet and greets. And so that's, one of the things, because, the other thing is that, when we speak about loneliness is that if you are a naturist, then, if you probably have a very limited number of people that you're able to communicate about your naturism and express your naturism with, rather than, just being, at the grocery store and talking, it makes a little bit of an isolated situation for a lot of people. People have various levels that they're open about their naturism. Many of people are very, reserved about it, right? And so when they are on Naturist Hub, they can communicate with, like-minded folks, right? And be welcome and be accepted. And it's very refreshing for them. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have that online. So we added those fields and that whole capability to the module for the online meetup kind of thing, a naturist meetup. So it's kind of an events and naturist meetup module. And so that's worked out really well too.
So let's go back to the example. Linda Weber, who's involved with at a high level. And without doing a comparison, though, I think she posts more on Twitter than she does on Naturist Hub.
Well, there's more eyeballs on Twitter.
Yes. So she's trying to reach more people. So if there was the ability to make your post public, would you have more activity on Naturist Hub? Would that be a benefit or a detriment?
Well, therein lies the devil in the details. So one of the modifications, we had to greatly modify the script to make it work for the naturist community. And one of the things was to take out the sharing ability, because I can allow somebody to post something that they think is in Naturist Hub and find that another person thought that was cool and posted it on their Twitter with a click of a mouse, right? And so it needs to stay inside of Naturist Hub, because that's why we are a safe place for people to express their naturism, because not everybody is out and about and, about their naturists. There are families that have kids in school. There's, scout leaders, whatever the reasons, right? They're personal reasons. And they may not appreciate the fact that they posted something on Naturist Hub, and then all of a sudden people are saying, hey, I saw you on Twitter. Wow. So we had to decommission all of that and remove that scripting from the code base for that whole functionality, to take it out. The reason is because somebody needs to feel safe when they post something on Naturist Hub that is going to stay in Naturist Hub. Now, I cannot prevent somebody from taking a screenshot. There's no way anybody can prevent another member to screenshot, a post and post it. Do you think they will? Probably not, but there's no way. And that's in the terms, right? There's, if it's the internet, right? If you're posting something on the internet, it's still the internet. But that being said, we do want to keep things within Naturist Hub, and we try to, eliminate some of that sharing ability. Now, somebody like Linda that is trying to build an audience and to, communicate that naturism is, she tries to, I think, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think she tries to, encourage other women to give it a shot. And that's her reason for being. And so we always try to, support wherever we can, and clearly it's interesting that you mentioned that Naturist Hub is like a nudist resort. And that's what Nick and I and Linda and Sanka and everybody had talked about. We try to make it like that Saturday afternoon when everybody's sitting around and they maybe got a beverage in their hand and the barbecue's just been fired up. That's kind of what we're looking for, that environment to create kind of that kibitzing back and forth, lighthearted. It's some thoughts, but it's not too deep, and have some fun and enjoy that experience. And that's what we really want Naturist Hub to be about.
So on Facebook, I have a very family group, which is my very close family. And I can post things that only they see. It's only about my very closest family members. Or I can make it my friends, or I can make it public. What about the possibility so that folks like Linda who want to share something they posted on Naturist Hub could make a specific post public, but not the entire walled garden, if you will?
That's a deep subject. So the firewall right now, the way it's constructed, I wouldn't be able to do that. But it brings up another concept that I think it's important to realize. So when we first started Naturist Hub, there was a wise man that said, people are going to come in and you're going to think they're really nice. And then you're going to be going like, whoa, wait a minute. You can't do that, right? And there was a wise man that told me, do you know who that person is, Stefan? That would be you. Said, you have to be careful because who you think is coming in, you think they're really good. And man, this is going to be a great addition. And then all of a sudden you're going like, no. And we originally had the post it was friends only, and you could, and we had some different posting options that were more private. And what we found was there was people creating private playgrounds, posting pictures of things that we were not comfortable with. And we had to, and those people are no longer on the platform. Let me say that. But we can allow private playgrounds. And so what we ended up doing was creating an all updates feed. And that's the default on load. And unfortunately, that's not going to recognize when you push friends only and such. It's going to give all updates, because the theory was on the advisory group that's like, we understand that people might want to post something for friends only, and we get that. But on the other hand, it's a naturist site and we are in a unique space. And it's difficult because if the more privacy we provide, the more people will take advantage of it. And some people will take advantage of it in ways that we're not comfortable with, because we found imageries that, were very distasteful, if you will.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about creating the friends only posts. I understand that, and that's not the interest as much. It's the ability to make a post public that's visible outside of Naturist Hub. So if you wanted to share something, a post you did on Naturist Hub on Twitter, you could post a link. Somebody could follow it, see your post. They couldn't go any further. They could then maybe get interested in joining Naturist Hub. But they could read and see the picture you posted from the link without having access inside the walled garden, if you will.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's going to be realistic because we have the firewall pretty locked down. And, I think member security is paramount. That's why we have complex passwords, and
of course
we don't have the session variables set forever, right? So you have to log back in and click the accept and everything. And a lot of that is, it's security is very important, Stefan. And I don't know how we would do that part of it. I think that we would let them post on Twitter independently, because Twitter is a unique situation. It's evolved into something that I'm not sure a lot of people are comfortable with, but it seems to be so many people on it that we'll see.
I'm not comfortable with Twitter either, as you probably know. I've lost the Bear Oaks Twitter account and the Naturist Living Show Twitter account.
Yeah.
I'm actually considering setting up. I'm working on setting up a Mastodon server so that you could post Naturist content publicly without having to worry about your account disappearing. Now, I would still go and post it on Twitter, but I would cross-post, because then I'm not posting content on Twitter and I don't have to worry about being censored as much, especially if there's a hop in between. But I can still promote on Twitter where the audience is and send them to a place where the full post and image is that I know is not a risk of deletion. And that's where my idea, if I could do that on Naturist Hub, then that would be the solution as well. But if it's so locked down that you cannot make it visible to the outside, then that doesn't work. And that's why maybe the Mastodon server is the better option for me for that part. I like the walled garden, don't get me wrong. I like the safe place. I like the fact that I can have suggest to women that they can actually participate in a naturist conversation and be open that they're naturist without getting 1,000 friends requests and a bunch of dick pics. Because that's what happens the moment a woman on Facebook or Twitter even suggests they're interested in naturism. So I do like it, and that's a good thing. But
yeah, that's one thing, at the inception of Naturist Hub, when we were conceptualizing all the different options, and that was one of the paramount things that we were at. We wanted to make it so that women felt comfortable. And if we adhered to those standards and did not deviate from them and had no exceptions for when somebody does a dick pic, they have done a few, we delete the profile, the image, and ban the IP. So they are banned. They never come back, right? So, and they expose themselves relatively quickly, it seems like,
No pun intended.
Now, I can't tell you that. Yeah, exactly. There's other people that we know participate on some of the other wilder websites, but they come in and they kind of read the room, and they maybe get a warning on something, maybe they're wearing genital jewelry. We don't allow genital jewelry because it has a connotation to a different world, right? It brings the focus down to there, and that's not the purpose of what we're doing. And so they understand it, they read the room, and then suddenly they're posting, and it's kind of like they can exhale and they can kind of be more genuine as well, as what we've noticed. maybe it's wishful thinking on our part. I don't know, but I mean, it just seems like people enjoy it once they get on the platform, and they realize they can just kind of let their hair down and be cool and be relaxed and enjoy and express their naturism. They do.
Mm-hmm.
And without that whole sexually charged aspect of it, right? So we're very concerned when women come on board that they feel comfortable. And you'll find that Naturist Hub has a very welcoming environment. New members, they sign up and the community immediately says, hey, welcome to Naturist Hub from South Carolina. Welcome to Naturist Hub from Washington. Welcome to Naturist Hub from Toronto, from Vancouver, BC, and you get a bunch of check-ins that people just try to say, hey, welcome, glad you're here. And it goes without saying that when somebody signs up, you're going to just see a number of people responding, just saying, hey, welcome to the platform, glad you made it.
If somebody listening right now wants to join Naturist Hub, how do they do it? Can they do it?
Well, they have 3 ways that they could do that. If they do know somebody on board the platform, have them send you an invite. If you are a member of AANR, go to the AANR website, and on the home page, you'll see a link to the Naturist Hub social network, and click on there, fill out the form, and they will send you an invite. And if you're not a member of AANR and you don't know anybody on the platform, but you are a naturist and you have experienced naturism and you're comfortable, then you can go to our About page and you can just look it up, do a Google search for Naturist Hub, and it'll come up with the About page. And you'll see a form, a link that you can click. It opens a form and you can request an invite. And we do ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us a little bit more. And so, if you might tell us that you've visited Cypress Cove, or you've gone to Haulover Beach, or you've gone, you experience nude recreation in your backyard, you're a home nudist, as long as you tell us something, then we see that you're not a bot, that you've been, you've experienced nude recreation, and then you're a good candidate, and then your behavior basically keeps you on the platform, right?
And if somebody has no experience with nudism or naturism but is interested, would you accept them?
Yeah, it depends, I guess, on the messaging, right? But, the AANR.com is probably a better place for them to go in. The shock value is going to be pretty high if they've never, ever been to a nude beach or a nude resort, or experienced nudism in any shape. Then, AANR might be a good place for them to start. And if they're comfortable, then they, might come back to us and tell us something like that. I think it's, it's a site for naturists. It's not a site for non-naturists. Let me say it. Naturist Hub is a site for naturists, not non-naturists.
As you heard, if you want to join a Naturist Hub and you know someone, they will invite you. But you can also join via the website by asking for an invitation, by filling out the form. Or if you're a member of AANR, you can just go and join through the website, the AANR website as well. Also, keep an eye out. I think we will be announcing shortly our own Mastodon server. Mastodon is a Twitter replacement. Hopefully, possibly by the time you're listening to this, it might even be live, but I doubt it. There's a lot of technical stuff to be done on it still. So we've decided to create our own version of Twitter, or Twitter clone, our own version of Mastodon. It's a bit of a long explanation, which we'll probably do an episode about in the future. But I met Simon from the UK. You might know his wife, Helen, who is very active in promoting the women in naturism for British naturism. And Simon is a tech person, and he's helping me set up the Mastodon server, which will be hosted out of Bear Oaks server room. We have fiber running into Bear Oaks right now, and we have more than enough bandwidth. We have a small server room, so I like to say it's going to be the only hosting facility where people are servicing it close-free. Just like we do this show close-free, we're going to be doing the technical side close-free, whether you see it or not. So hopefully there'll be a public option for Naturist with Naturist rules with the Mastodon server that we're working on. So with that, this episode will come to an end. Thank you as always for listening. My name again is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host for this podcast and the owner of Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. And we owe a lot of gratitude to Samantha Graham, who makes this show, or the production and creation of the show, a lot easier by doing all the work of editing and keeping it all organized and putting it together. The Naturist Living Show's theme music is called The Day We Met, and it was made by Mark Hodges. You can support Samantha and all the work she does so we can keep doing this and we can have more episodes by donating a few dollars every month to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Naturist Living Show, just one word. And remember, it's not for me. I don't get any of the money. It's to support Samantha because she is doing this for her job. You can find links to all the many, many things I mentioned in this particular episode in the show notes on our website at naturistlivingshow.com. And please keep sending your comments and suggestions. We really appreciate getting them. The show's email address is contact@naturistlivingshow.com, or you can call and leave a comment by calling country code 1-905-473-6060, which is the Bear Oaks phone number as well. By coincidence? I don't think so. Extension 333 for the show's mailbox. I hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll join us again for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bearoaks.ca.
Okay, so after that's insert, sorry, I'm just clearing my throat. I am better. I really am. I'm really good, but I think I'm still congested. Maybe it's allergies again. I don't know. Sorry. You know, I think I still sound congested, don't you think? Yeah.
Nobody at the nudist resort is not a naturist, right?
Well, I guess after 5 minutes of being there, that's true.
When in Rome, do as the Romans.